everyone. Renee Carlson here from True North Legal, where we fight to protect religious liberty in Minnesota, also life and families through education, policy, and litigation in the courts. I'm very excited to be here with Pastor Rob Ketterling from River Valley Church today. He's just going to talk to us a little bit about how religious freedom affects Minnesotans and why it is so important for the church to pay attention to what's happening here in Minnesota. So Pastor Rob, so good to be here with you. Thank you for taking the time. Can you just tell everybody a little bit about River Valley Church, what you guys are up to, and why your mission is so important to what's happening in Minnesota?
Right. Thanks for having me here. And yeah, we started our church from a small little Bible study, and now we're a multi-site church all across Minnesota, even in Canada now.
Wow.
And we're on mission to send missionaries out and to be a great local church where people can find a personal faith in Jesus Christ. And so that's our mission. And while we were doing this, we discovered that our freedom of religion was under attack. We didn't even realize it. We weren't paying attention. We were so focused on our mission. And then through your legal firm and through just being aware, people said, this is happening. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, well, who's fighting on this? Who's helping us on this? And immediately my staff said that you were. And so thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your encouragement. I also feel encouraged because with your words and your discussions on social media and even your sermons, I think you've helped people be more aware of what's happening in society. As an attorney, sometimes I think that people feel like politics and religion is separate, and I think that these issues are biblical issues.
Yeah.
Fighting for life is a biblical issue. Fighting for religious freedom and being able to keep the doors open for the gospel is a biblical issue because it affects our commandment to tell people about Jesus and to love one another. So why do you think it's important for churches to get engaged? And do you see there to be a separation between politics and religion, or do you think they kind of go together?
Well, I think they complement each other, but I've said this over and over again. Religion hasn't become political. Politics has become religious.
Right.
And you think about it, like when the church, we didn't weigh in on what the tax rate should be. We didn't weigh in on treaties. We don't weigh in on licensing of cars and jet skis. Like, we're a church. And that's, the government should be doing those things. But then the government said, now we're going to get into life. Now we're going to get into marriage. Now we're going to get into your freedom to express and worship God the way you want to worship. You look at what's going on in America right now, it's politics has become religious. Mm-hmm. And we're saying, wait, stay with the taxes and the treaties and let us live out our freedom of religion. Mm-hmm. And so churches used to say, like, we don't even want to be involved. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying now, no, you have to be involved. I remember saying to our church, like, I'm just talking about the things that are in our book, the Bible. All the things that are being voted on are things that are in our book. And so it's time for the church to wake up and say, we've got to be engaged in this. These things are happening and they're very real to the church, and we've got to wake up and stand up for what we believe or watch our freedoms be eroded away. And somebody that's traveled as much as I have, I've been to Cuba, I've been to Russia, I've been to China, I've been to the places where the restriction on the freedom of worship. I've been to countries where I had to be undercover and meet someone in an alleyway, go up to a soundproof room and preach a sermon to a group of believers that were huddled in a room. This happened in 2019.
I was going to say, this is recent because my husband's traveled as well, and going to these other countries, you're like pent up in an apartment building and people think, well, that was 1982. No, that was actually a few years ago.
Yeah, and they look at us and they say, don't lose your freedom.
Right.
Don't, watch out. It can happen to you. We have a man in our church that immigrated here from Russia, and he talks about being mocked as a child and being stood in front of the class and being told, this is a Christian. Wow. I mean, these are real stories, and America was the refuge that you went to for freedom of religion. And now, for some reason, leaders in government are starting to say, no, we're attacking the very freedom that you have. And we've gone from having a favored status in society to a negative status. And I'm just saying, can we get back to neutral?
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas Jefferson said, makes no difference if my neighbor believes in 20 gods or none. He was just kind of saying, let's have freedom of religion.
Yeah. And you make a good point because something that we've talked about is saying that even though we have ecumenical partnerships as we fight, specifically engaging in the Minnesota Human Rights Act issue, freedom for everyone is important because
Yes.
freedom for everyone means freedom for us to be able to
Right.
share the gospel and share our faith. And I think that you've made that point. And we really appreciate that you've communicated that to other people because it can be a little confusing. But kind of along those lines, I wanted to ask you with respect to hiring. Other people who say that we don't need the religious exemption would say that
Yes.
churches particularly are like any other business. Why does it really matter? Why do they have special privileges when it comes to hiring, let's say, teachers or their ministers? And so you as a pastor, can you tell us, why does it matter that you as a church should be able to have these special religious protections? Like, what kind of decisions go into hiring ministers or hiring teachers
Right.
that would support the fact that we say that this exemption is so special? Why,
Right.
why do we really need it, and why?
Well, we really do, and we have the right to it because of the Bill of Rights. I
Yep.
mean, we have the First Amendment, like it's right there. But what does it mean when you have a church and you have a group together? It's an ideology, it's a belief system. And if people don't align with that ideology or belief system, there's other groups for them to be a part of. But we're asking for us to be able to hire people that hold the same beliefs so those beliefs can be transmitted to others. It's actually biblical. The Apostle Paul told Timothy, he said, take what you have that I've taught you, that you'll teach others. We are to teach the beliefs to them, not just open it up to what anybody else believes. And so we want to have that freedom to continue to follow Jesus in that way. And then you think about it, what's going to happen if we lose the right to hire the teachers that we want to have? If we can't hire the school workers in our daycare, if we can't hire the camp directors that align, and then we're sending our kids to camp, we've got to be able to hold on to these things that we believe and that are our form of worship.
Yeah, the mission is very important. The mission isn't just words on a paper. And I think that that's what's come through this experience, at least for me, talking with other pastors. It's become critically important that we are engaged in protecting our ability to stay on mission. Again, it's not just, like I said, it's not just words on a paper.
Yeah, and
as you said, it's
pastors-
scripture. It's the core of who we are. And so in order to live and work as Christians, we need to be able to stay on mission and live according to our biblical principles.
It's true, and there's pastors that are hesitant to join this.
Sure.
And they're like, I just want to stay preaching. I just want to stay, and they feel like it's almost a bad thing to get involved in the political arena. Now, I'm not a political leader, but I'm a pastor, and part of my calling is to be a shepherd. Part of mine is to contend for the faith, which is what Jude talks about. If you look at the Apostle Paul, when he was called by God, he said, I've called this man to go to the Gentiles and to speak to their kings. Even part of his mission was to speak to the kings. And so I'm saying it's churches, we've got to stand up, and it's okay to say, this is what we believe, this is what we stand for. We're not being partisan. We're saying we believe in these values. And people ask me all the time, and I don't know how you feel about this, but they'll say, are you Republican or Democrat or what? And I said, I'm for the kingdom of God.
That's right.
And that's first and foremost. And I look behind me and I see what policies and parties are pushing my platform forward and which ones are pulling me backwards. And so when those issues that people are voting for are pulling me backwards, I'm going to stand against that and for those that are pushing the kingdom forward.
And we agree with you at True North Legal. We are a see-through organization and we aren't partisan. And I often say this isn't a matter of partisan politics. Like I said, defending life is not a matter of partisan politics.
Right.
Defending healthcare for women isn't a matter of partisan politics. Defending the First Amendment is not a matter
Right.
of partisan politics. This would be something that every Minnesotan should be interested in and willing to support because this affects all Minnesotans. So I think that
It
that's
does.
absolutely true. And we need to ask who is actually defending these issues, who is standing up for the values that are for the common good of all people in Minnesota. I'm thankful, Pastor Rob, that you're doing that. I'm thankful for your bold messages. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me and talk with others
Yeah.
and share more about the importance of True North Legal and about standing up to defend our first freedoms. It's been an incredible encouragement to have your partnership because I think the Bible talks about co-laboring. It's an honor to co-labor with you and many pastors in Minnesota, and we will keep standing for
Yes.
religious freedom and all the values we know to be true because at the heart of it, without the gospel, people are lost, and we just
Right.
want to fight keep those doors open and to keep
And
moving in
thank
that
you.
direction alongside you.
Thank you for fighting too. And if I could say this to the people that partner with you and support you, thank you for doing that. Churches have limited resources, and we're restricted on what we can do financially in this arena. But thank you to the people that stand with you and say, we believe in you. We want to support you. Please be the advocate for those of us that have these beliefs. So to the people that partner with you, that employ you and do all this, thank you, because the church needs advocates like you standing there saying, we're going to help you protect what you believe in and keep the church on mission.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think we all have a part to play, and there isn't a part that isn't important, whether it's prayer, resources, or like you taking a stand boldly and speaking out on these things. So thank you
Thank
again,
you.
and thanks for those kind words. Thanks everybody for joining us today. This was a great opportunity to sit down with Pastor Rob Ketterling at River Valley Church. We'll see you again.